In this lesson, we will complete the topic of interfaces and inheritance. So let's create a new project. Call it Anonym. Create class main and add a program entry point. Now let's declare an interface able to cook. Create a method for it. Void cook. Now let's create a class and call it Director. I've made a mistake in naming the class, but I'm not able to correct it here, because the class name must be the same as the file name. This can be corrected using the keyboard shortcut Shift plus F6. Select the class, press Shift F6 and enter the correct name. This is nothing more than a lyrical digression. This Director class will have one method which will not return any parameters. Public void, call it Force. It will accept one parameter of the able to cook type. This method will take somebody who is able to cook and make them cook. That is, it calls method cook from an able to cook object. Let's go to the code and create a new director. Write director, assign symbol, new director. Now our director is hungry and he wants some food to be cooked as soon as possible. What can we do now? We can create a class chef in which the interface able to cook will be implemented. Then create an object of the chef class and then call the method from the director and pass it the chef as a parameter. Let's do this and thus we will practice. Create a new class and call it chef. It will implement the interface able to cook. Override the method cook. In the method, simply display the line cooking. Now in the class main, create a new chef. And from our director call method force. And pass the chef as its parameter. Our director is now forcing the chef to cook. Run the code. Everything works. The chef is cooking. But there are such cases when, like this time, the whole code is needed only once in this method. Creating a whole new class and then an object of this class is too much for this tiny task. In such cases, we can use anonymous classes, that is, classes which have no names. As a parameter, we must pass the object of the class which implements the able to cook interface. We will delete our chef. As an argument, we will write new able to cook. Select the first option and press Tab. IDEA suggests implementing the required method right here. Let's implement it and print out the line cooking. Run the code. The program works just the way it worked. So let's review what we've just done. As a parameter for the method force, we need an object of the class which implements the interface able to cook. If we do everything the way we did it before, we will create a class which implements the interface. Then in the class main, we will create an object of this class, and as a parameter, we will pass this object. Provided that we only need it once in the whole program, this will not be an optimal solution. It will take less time to create an anonymous class, write new, and the name of the required interface. This interface has the method we must override, and we will write their implementation right here. That's all. We have created an object of the class which implements the method we need. Since this class does not have a name, it's called anonymous. This principle is very common for the event listeners. If you continue studying either Android or Java, you will have to utilize listeners very often. Put in a nutshell, a listener is an object which traces some event. For example, pressing a button. If someone has pressed the button, the listener will perform a certain action. So the listener is an interface, and it would be too complicated to create a separate class, implement the interface, and then create an object of this class if the listener is only needed to monitor one button. It's easier to use an anonymous class, but this is nothing more than another lyrical digression. And when you hear about the listeners sometime in the future, you will not think of it as of something complicated. That's all. The discussion of the topic is over. Now here is the homework. The director will be here again. You must create an interface called accountant. It will contain one method, which returns a balance sheet as a string and accepts as a parameter the number of months for which the sheet must be filled. Create the class director. Its only method will be force. As a parameter, it will accept an object of the accountant type and an int variable which stores the number of months which must be covered in the statement. In this method, we must receive the financial statement from the accountant and print it out. It means that the director demands from a certain accountant, passed as the first argument, a financial statement for a certain number of months, passed as the second argument. The result of this method will be a line in the console, financial statement for months. The method force must be implemented in two ways. The first one is creating an object of the class which implements this method and passing it as a parameter. The second one is using an anonymous class. Good luck! See you in our next class.